And that's being said, let's continue with some more news. And next is this report from AP, and AP is citing human rights activists that Israeli airstrikes targeting Iran killed at least 585 people. The group says that 239 civilians are among dead, with more than 1,300 people being wounded. So Israel continues to do what it does best, to commit war crimes, crimes against humanity, and kills hundreds of civilians in Iran now, which is tragic, obviously, and it is a shame of humanity that until now we as humans were unable to stop this fascist state, to demilitarize this fascist state and denazify its fascist population, right? And I don't say fascist slightly, by the way. They are supremacists, right? Vast majority of Israelis have this sick ideology that they think they are supreme beings and the rest of us are some subhumans and that kind of stuff. They are fascists, by the way, and have to undergo programs of denazification 100% because it's just sickening, right? Meanwhile, Iran continues to strike back on Israel for Israeli attacks as a retaliation for Israeli attacks. And last day and last night was no exception. Let me share with you a few images of Iranian strikes. And for example, in this video, by the way, you can see a massive volley of missiles heading towards southern military and logistical infrastructure of Israel. Air defense is trying to intercept as many missiles as they can, but usually they are failing. No air defense system is capable to intercept 100% of targets all the time. Another video, by the way, with the work of air defense against Iranian missiles. And, well, Tehran promises, by the way, to retaliate every day until Israel will stop its hostilities against the Republic. Although, by the way, Israel is not stopping, obviously, we all understand that. They started this war together with US and globalists in general, not to stop after a week of hostilities. But we have this report here that Iran, as a result of yesterday's day strikes, by the way, strikes are happening, these retaliatory strikes, not just at nighttime, but also during the day. So Iran has eliminated a significant number of Mossad officers, according to Tasnim news agency, media outlet. There were reports that one of the Mossad's buildings were struck yesterday. And even though there is a fog of war that should be taken into consideration, and any information should be treated there with a pinch of salt, it is a possibility, it is clearly a possibility that Iran did manage to eliminate significant number of not just Mossad officers, but also high-ranking officers of IDF. Israel is not sharing no information, literally none, about aftermath of these Israeli strikes, right? How many military officers they lost and so on. And meanwhile, by the way, it's not just me and not just majority of our community, I believe, that is opposing this unprovoked aggression of Israel and its NATO backers against Iran. Many people worldwide are on the same page. Majority of humanity is on the same page, by the way. And among us, there are people that are serving, among majority of humanity, are people that are serving in US Army, for example, in armies of other NATO member states. And this morning, I shared on my Telegram and Twitter X page this report, for example, that according to a number of sources, Pentagon official Colonel Nathan McCormack was removed from his position at the Joint Chiefs of Staff for posts calling Israel a death cult, referring to Netanyahu and his ilk as a Judo supremacist cronies, and asking whether the US is functioning as Israel's proxy. McCormack was serving as the Levant and Egyptian branch chief at the Joint Chiefs of Staff, J5 Planning Directorate. So, by the way, that's the level of freedom of speech in US. US, as far as I know, not officially engaged in a war with Iran, not officially. Unofficially, yes, but there was no official statements on that yet. And US citizens, according to US constitutions, have every right to express themselves, right? To share their opinion about, especially about other countries, by the way. About their own country too, but definitely about other countries. But well, this law constitution is not works. U.S. constitution is not works when it comes to Israel. And this colonel, by the way, is correct. The U.S. is definitely acting as a proxy of Israel and the Zionists, and not just now, but for decades. And this should not come as a surprise to nobody. I know among the expert community, there is opinion that it's Israel is US's proxy, but I disagree with that strongly. It's not like that. US was, is, and will be used as a tool, by the way, as an enforcer by Israel and by Zionists, by neocons, and by globalists. And take a look at the history of US. Actions of the US, wars of the US for last, I don't know, man, since the Second World War, let's say. When US was attacked, in how many wars the US was participating, and which countries that US was bombing did actually attack US itself? Some may say, you know what, well, Al-Qaeda attacked US on 11th of September, and they were based on Afghanistan. Yeah, they were in Afghanistan, by the way, but they were there because they were created by US itself, US intelligence services. And they were using Al-Qaeda and all sorts of other terrorist groups against the Soviet Union, right? So maybe it was a US Secret Services attack on US on 11th of September, because it's as I said, Al-Qaeda and many other terrorist organizations, including ISIS, by the way, were created by US intelligence services. And those intelligence services still are actively working with these terrorist groups. And just recently, by the way, a couple of months ago, Al-Qaeda affiliate became a new leader of Syria. And US at some point had some 10 million bounty on his head. But now he's, well respected by US elites, politician, Asharah, whatever his freaking name is. You know who am I talking about. So that's the reality, by the way. That's the reality. I would like to see US citizens wake up and organize true revolution, by the way, and regain control over their own country, because just and true republic, US, would be extremely helpful for this world and for the humanity. But unfortunately, I have no reason to believe that US society will be able to would be able to either wake up or to reclaim their own country. No. Anyways, let's continue. Renos is reporting that according to US, next 24 to 48 hours are crucial in a conflict with Iran. American officials consider the next 24 to 48 hours decisive in a conflict with Iran, hinting at the possible US possible use of force by the United States, and this was reported by ABC. And well, by the way, it is well possible that U.S. militaries already are using force, because well, U.S. president not just issued ultimatum to Iran, but also said that he wrote on his True Social another post, and he said, we control the skies of Iran. So does it mean that U.S. is also directly engaged? Some may argue that Trump is too illiterate, too uneducated, and maybe he don't understand what we and they means. Maybe, by the way, maybe this moron is Trump is capable of any stupidity, and because he is the one, right, stupid as a whole. But anyways, he at least can write something, and he did it, and issued an ultimatum to Iran. The US President Donald Trump has demanded an unconditional surrender from Iran, which has been looked in a heated military conflict with Israel over the past days. In a series of posts on his True Social, Trump also claimed that we now have complete and total control of their skies over Iran, as I already mentioned, by the way. And based on this statement, one may argue that U.S. militaries most likely already are conducting strikes. It's just not being stated officially. They are not just assisting with intelligence, with refueling, for example, of Israeli planes and that kind of stuff, but also with munition, missiles, bombs, and so on. But also, U.S. military is probably already conducting strikes on Iran. And well, yesterday there was a close meeting, by the way, held in White House of U.S. officials, and that meeting ended without a decision being made to strike Iran officially. To make it official. This was reported by Wall Street Journal, although Trump at some point yesterday posted that, not Trump, but media outlets, Western media outlets, shared in public information that Trump was planning to make some emergency statement after this meeting, but well, there was no emergency statements. I guess there are still at least several more or less adequate people in the Trump's administration. Potentially, I'm not sure about it, but maybe there are at least one or two individuals in Trump's administration that are not really 100% morons. Probably some of them have fewer than one brain cell, and they were probably opposing. Trump and other warmongers to get involved openly in this war with Iran. Okay, but those people gonna be fired soon, I guess. And I'm a bit surprised that, for example, Tulsi Gabbard, head of U.S. intelligence, didn't resign already, because Trump insulted her, isn't it? Big time. When he said that he just don't care what Tulsi Gabbard have to say. He said that, isn't it? He was asked that, well, Tulsi Gabbard or U.S. intelligence has no knowledge of Iran working on nuclear weapons. And Trump said that he don't care what Tulsi Gabbard have to say, because he thinks Iran is doing that. Okay, man, that's the level of leadership U.S. has right now. This Trump is truly psycho, isn't it? He's not just a narcissist, by the way. He is a mentally ill element, right? He clearly is a mentally ill man. And as time goes by, he is demonstrating his mental illness more and more often. And this is extremely dangerous, because whatever forces are pulling the string in U.S. and manipulating with Trump, they might tell him, what, it's a good idea to start World War III. Let's nuke Russia or let's nuke China. And Trump might actually sign their order on that, right? After all, he was put in the White House by influential forces in US and in the West for a reason, right? And I don't think that reason is just to assist Israel. There's some other stuff too. Anyways, I also shared this morning on my Telegram and Twitter X page that the United States has withdrawn its warships from a base in Bahrain in the Persian Gulf. The Associated Press and many other media outlets are reporting about it. Although, dispersal, one should keep in mind that dispersal of their warships is a common measure to ensure the safety of the fleet in the event of increased threats. And by the way, I think it's only a matter of time, and US will openly get engaged in this war against Iran. It might happen today, tomorrow, day after. We still need some more information, but one should keep in mind that aircraft strike groups that are moving towards Middle East and were sent towards Middle East from Indo-Pacific, they are not yet in a striking distance, I guess, from Iran. So probably Pentagon will wait until they have all the assets or the majority of the assets in the place, and then they will say, they will make it official that they are engaged in these attacks on Iran. And very same day, basically, as a retaliatory measure, Iran might take out potentially not just several, but maybe even dozen of US military bases in the region, and also vessels, warships. US warships in the Persian Gulf, if you ask me, should be evacuated right now because they are trapped. Even from military standpoint, it would be, it would make all the sense if US would remove all its military vessels from the Persian Gulf, because otherwise, once the US will declare that they are openly engaged in a war with Iran, US vessels going to be trapped in the Persian Gulf. They're not going to be able to pass through Hormuz Strait safely. That's for sure. Anyways, well, opposition towards Donald Trump is increasing, by the way, worldwide, and first of all inside the US itself. Tucker Carson became a big critic of US president, and he had an interview with Ted Cruz, by the way, another war hawk, warmonger, and puppet of Zionists and the neocons. And Ted Cruz is one of those criminals that are calling for all sorts of wars against almost everybody, right? And he's calling for war against Iran too, and for regime change and so on. And Tucker Carlson asked him quite legit questions, by the way. Do you know anything about Iran? Right? And it turns out that Ted Cruz knows literally nothing about Iran, just the name of the country, right? He knows nothing about Iran. And let me show you a short clip, by the way, of this exchange between Carson and
I don't know the population.
Ted Cruz.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's, it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is
Israel.
high stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Well, what can I say, dear friends? It's a mental, isn't it? It's literally mental, man. When you observe what kind of inhuman elements are in a position of elites in the West, it's just crazy, right? And I'm positively surprised by Tucker Carlson. He's doing quite a good service for humanity lately, by the way, at least, right? He himself acknowledged that there was times that he was buying all their propaganda of the neocons and so on, and he was active supporter of war against Iraq, for example. But at least he found the courage in himself to acknowledge that he was wrong, and he's now seems like he's definitely anti-war individual, and don't want US to be engaged or to use as an enforcer by some influential groups around the planet. My applause, by the way. I mean, we all do make mistakes time to time, but as long as we are capable of acknowledging our mistakes and moving forward, learning and becoming better human beings, then okay, it's all good, right? And dear friends, also interesting news is coming this morning, which is that according to IRNA news agency, Iranian air defense systems shut down yet another F-35, Israeli F-35 fighter jet. This one is the fifth one, if I remember correctly. And of course, dear friends, we should take all the news that are coming from conflict zones with a pinch of salt, with mountain of salt, maybe. But who knows? It is also possible that many of the news that we are hearing is correct, and maybe Iran really did manage to intercept a number of F-35s. And on internet, by the way, you might even see opinions that losses of Israeli Air Force are connected not just with the work of air defense systems, but also with the work of Russian Su-35 fighter jets that were transferred to Iran not that long ago. Because there was a contract in place, by the way. Iran brought a number of Russian Su-35s, and people are speculating now on the internet how many Su-35s were transferred to Iran until now. Maybe several, or maybe several dozen. We don't know, but in Israeli reports, I did not see any mentioning of Su-35s being destroyed, and I have not seen any mentioning of, maybe I missed something, but I did not see also any mentioning of destruction of Russian-made S-300 air defense system that Iran also has, I believe. Russia, based on contracts, Russia, I believe, transferred S-300 to Iran, and China, I believe China also has delivered to Iran its analogs of their S-300. Israeli militaries are bragging about establishing control over the skies, but do they think for a second that maybe they've been allowed to fly around there because Iran knows it's only a matter of time and US gonna get involved, right? US and other NATO member states, and they will need air defense systems at that moment much more, when there will be, huge number of aerial targets that to dealt with. Possibility, I think. Let's continue with some more news, and I have to show you this video, by the way. Also, Israel officially stated while justifying its military attack on Iran, that Tehran was just like a short time on a short time distance before creating atomic bombs. And well, world is ironizing, because we all remember how many times Israeli leadership, including this genocidal maniac Netanyahu, was saying that Iran was a few weeks away to create a nuclear bomb, few months away, few years away, and this continues for 30 years, by the way, even longer than that. And some people made a compilation of statements of Netanyahu on this matter, and I think it's worth paying some attention to. So let me give you this video, dear friends.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Well, do I have to comment on this, dear friends? And should anybody be surprised? Should anybody be surprised that practically nobody outside of this shorter inner circle of Zionists and neocons believes anything that comes out of Netanyahu? He is a chronicle liar, isn't he? He's a genocidal maniac and a chronicle liar. For 30 plus years, he's saying that Iran gonna create an atomic bomb, Iran gonna create atomic bomb. Where is this freaking atomic bombs? Where is it? Iran could build one some 20 years ago if they want to, but they did not. They did not, and they might do it now, by the way. After this attack on Iran, well, they might not even had any other options but to go ahead and actually build nuclear weapons to create some additional deterrent. It would not make Middle East any more safer, for sure, because Iran will acquire nuclear weapons. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other countries gonna do the same, gonna try at least, right? But at least Iran will have some additional deterrent in its hand. So while attacking Iran, these Zionists and their assets in US, their partners in US and the rest of the Western world, they might actually push Iran towards the creating a nuclear weapon that they did not want it to build, by the way. You should keep that in mind. And meanwhile, dear friends, more and more voices worldwide are being heard that are expressing concern in regards to these absolutely illegal actions of Israel, illegal criminal actions of the Israel, and obviously Moscow is leading this charge, one may argue, to contain this criminal activity of Israel. And we have already, I reported already about number of statements of high-ranking Russian officials that were condemning actions of the Israel, including Russian president, by the way. And as time goes by, Moscow intensifies rhetoric. And well, if Israel and its NATO allies continue, I mean, they might even force Moscow to get involved there directly to protect Iran. Maybe even militarily, by the way, because as I said in my previous updates and explained, Western ruling class wants to create regional war in the Middle East, shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf through Hormuz Strait, and so cut off China from Middle Eastern energy sources. And by doing so, they want China's dependence on Russian energy to increase towards the level of critical, absolutely critical. And a game plan of globalist NATO or the collective West is that once Chinese dependence on Russia will be on critical levels, they hope they will manage to derail relationships between Moscow and Beijing and force Beijing to go against Moscow with their military force, against Moscow, against Russia, and some number of Central Asian republics that are rich with their oil and gas. And Western calculus is that China will do this to secure its energy supply, right? They're gonna fail. They're gonna fail, obviously, because I can read this picture, and everyone else can if they want to, right? And obviously, Moscow listens to analysts of think tanks. Chinese side is doing the same, and therefore, obviously, what Israel, for its own reasons, and Israeli situational allies, globalists and neocons are doing is against national interests of the Russian Federation, national interests, security interests of China, and this world, basically, right? And Moscow and Beijing cannot allow globalists to succeed. Moscow and China cannot allow navigation to be shut down in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait. And therefore, if this push against Iran from terrorist regimes in Israel, in US, and other NATO member states will continue, they might trigger Russia to get involved directly. And soon, by the way, we might hear from Russia not just the warnings and the statements, but not just the statements, critical statements, but also warnings too, that there is a red lines that Moscow will not allow to cross. I think so. Let's see and wait. But right now we have this report that Israel's ongoing strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities pose unacceptable threats to the international security and risks plunging the world into a catastrophe. Russian Foreign Ministry has stated, and they're absolutely correct, by the way. All these days I was talking about nuclear threat, and I was highlighting that West is completely ignoring this subject, right? While saying that while mentioning that Israel is attacking nuclear facilities, threat of radioactive materials was almost not heard, ignored almost completely. And this is crazy, but that's the state of collective West right now, right? Collective West, so-called elites, media, and so on. But Russia is paying attention to these developments, and as I said, Israel and collective West countries might well trigger Russia to get involved directly. Day or two more, and situation might change dramatically. And definitely not in favor of Israel and their collective West. Just saying. And also, Russia expects International Atomic Energy Agency's report with their unpolished assessment of damage to Iran's nuclear facilities. So Russia expects the IAEA to issue a report to their UN Security Council and their IAEA Board of Governors with unpolished assessment of the damage caused by Israel to the Iran's nuclear energy complex, the Russian Foreign Ministry stated. And hopefully we will see some more information in the near future about the situation in regards to these nuclear facilities, because, as I said many times before, by the way, these are nuclear facilities and radioactive isotopes, or radioactive particles. They're not going to ask permission to cross their cross the border of any country, right? To leave the premises of their nuclear facility and to cross the border. And I reminded you, friends, when Chernobyl catastrophe happened, disaster happened, increase in radiation was detected in Norway, by the way, far north, right? And also in UK. thousands of kilometers away, by the way. And Iran is it's a Russian neighbor, by the way. We are neighboring Iran through Caspian Sea, right? And obviously for Russia, this is a very serious matter. And also for all the other neighbors. And I know, by the way, I mean, people in Georgia, for example, Southern Caucasus region, that is definitely not that far away from Iran, and another Southern Caucasus republic, Armenia, is actually bordering Iran. There are already concerns there too, as it should be, in regards to this terrorist activity of Israel that may cause radioactive contamination of vast areas, not just inside Iran, but also in a wider region and the world, because you just never know in which direction this radioactive particle is going to be blown by the wind. So let's see if IAEA will come up with some reports, detailed reports, because we deserve to know what is going on, because this is a very serious matter, isn't it? This is nuclear facilities that have been bombed by Israel with the assistance of US and other NATO member states on daily basis. And when it comes to IAEA, by the way, when it comes to IAEA, let me give you a short clip of a statement that Grossi made, Rafael Grossi, director of the IAEA. Even though he is an asset of Mossad, by the way, and CIA, I have no doubts about that. Even he publicly is refusing to say that Iran was building nuclear weapons, right? And let's listen what he had to say.
Competition about who is wrong or right about the time that would be needed. Certainly, it was not for tomorrow, maybe not a matter of years. I would there be perhaps more serious about this, and I don't think it was a matter of years. But this is speculation. Why? I go again to the beginning of my comment. These things we don't know, because if there was some activity which was clandestine or hidden or away from our inspectors, we couldn't know. What we informed and what we reported was that we did not have, as in coincidence with some of the sources you mentioned there, that we did not have any proof of a systematic effort to move into a nuclear weapon.
Well, how can I comment this, dear friends? Even Grossi is unable to claim that Iran was working on a nuclear program, right? IAEA had access, and I believe still has, by the way. There was rumors that Iran might cut all the ties with IAEA, but it did not happen. So I believe IAEA still receives all the information that they want in regards to Iran's nuclear program. And IAEA had a full carte blanche, by the way, opportunity to inspect any facility on Iran's territory, literally any facility that they were knew about. And obviously they knew about literally every facility, because it's impossible, by the way, due to radioactive trace, it is absolutely impossible to build nuclear facilities in such a secrecy that no one would knew about it. It's just not possible, right? And so IAEA had every opportunity to inspect every facility in Iran, every nuclear facility, and they are in no position, based on their information, to claim that Iran was building nuclear weapons. And the rest, by the way, is just a speculation. Rest is speculation. Some may say, well, they were not building now, but they could build tomorrow or day after. You know what? In hours' time, maybe aliens will attack this planet, and so what? We should live now based on speculations? This is not serious, right? We should take in account factual information, real information, right? And IAEA's director, who is, by the way, yet again, I believe, asset of Mossad and CIA, publicly cannot state that Iran was building nuclear weapons, because once you say that, you have to provide factual evidences, right? And he cannot. He would say it, by the way, but he cannot prove it. And that's why he is talking like that, that, you know, Iran did not build nuclear weapons, and then he goes into speculations, which, you know. But anyways, dear friends, let's continue a few more news, and then if there was any question through either PayPal or Boosty or the super chat on Rumble, I will react on it, or otherwise I will end update. But few more news. First, yesterday I mentioned, dear friends, that this escalation in the Middle East, this absolutely unprovoked war of and aggression of Israel against Iran already caused significant disturbances in the shipping, in the navigation in the Persian Gulf. Yesterday I shared this information that 900 vessels, by the way, in the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf have been disrupted as tensions between Iran and Israel escalates. And obviously, it's already, this escalation already has its impact on energy prices. And on that matter, we have this report that, for example, Brent crude prices have risen by almost 5%, and fears that their hostilities could disrupt their key shipping route. And this is just a fear, by the way, and the oil prices already jumped 5%. And for example, excuse me, Brent crude oil prices increased by 4.44 to reach $76.45 per barrel on Tuesday, and by over 10% since the Israel launched its first missile against Iran. So it's already 10% jump in about a week's time. Can you imagine what is going to happen if globalists and their partners in this crime, American neocons and Israeli regime, and also Israeli genocidal regime and Zionists, if they succeed with the destruction of the navigation or full shutdown of the navigation in the Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait, where oil price is going to go, and next gas prices too, they're going to absolutely skyrocket. Like, they're going to double, maybe even triple. And that is going to be huge hit on world economy. Obviously, that's going to cause a massive inflation all over the world, especially in the countries that are heavily dependent on energy imports, right? But the Western ruling class don't care, by the way. Globalists don't care because they are focused on China. They want to harm China as much as they can. So they will continue, by the way. They will continue. Moscow knows this. Beijing knows this, and therefore, as I already said, it might happen. It might be that in short time, Moscow actually might make some very strong statements and issue some very strong warnings to Israel, to US, and to everybody that is involved in this crime that is being committed against Iran. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.